afternoon, everybody. What's happening, everybody? Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you so much for tuning into Loud Majority Live. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. We've actually got some breaking news right now at the moment. It seems as though a consulate in Dubai, a U.S. consulate in Dubai, has been struck by an Iranian drone. Here was Fox News reporting that.
Senator has been hit by an Iranian drone and is now on fire. This just in. I'll get your thoughts as we try to get more details.
Well, again, this shows why we have to carry out the mission, carry out the job. These are evil and dangerous people, no matter what you think about us getting into this war. And I trust President Trump and all of the justifications for doing so. We have to finish the job. And by the way, President Trump has been very transparent, both with Congress, with the American people, and with Iran. He warned Iran over 100 times, come to the table and make a deal to stop producing your nuclear efforts to gain a nuclear bomb, or there will be hell to pay. And the Iranians chose the hell to pay. Now we have to finish the job and make sure that they never have a nuclear weapon.
So that's the breaking news right now, coming from Fox News. The U.S. consulate in Dubai has been hit by an Iranian drone and is now on fire. That's from Jen Griffin over on Fox News. We're going to bring you guys more of the updates on that as it's coming. We got it all queued up here. So we're also awaiting a press conference about the situation, as senators and members of Congress are going to be briefed today at about 3:30 on what all is happening with Iran, what the steps are for that. We'll make sure to keep you guys informed of that. Before we get started, guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We are rocking. We are rocking. We are rolling. Today, before we get started, guys, head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. You guys are going to like all the stuff we've got rocking over there. A whole bunch of new stuff over on the website. You guys are going to want to check those out today, including this new Independence t-shirt. Check this one out. This seems to be incredibly popular right now. Check that out today, as well as American Warrior t-shirts. We've got a whole bunch of new hoodies and stuff. Of course, we've got the F around and find out hoodies that somebody should have sent these over to Iran, so maybe they could have read the front of the damn shirt and then not found out. But unfortunately, they seem to have done so. And right now, Iran is really standing alone on the world stage. They've basically shot missiles into every single one of the neighboring countries all over the Middle East. It's actually wild. It's almost like they're going out of their way to piss off their neighbors. Right now, they have hit areas in Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, Oman, and in Cyprus. And of course, they've been firing on Israel the entire time. It's almost like they're just going around shooting indiscriminately against their neighbors, basically anybody who has been kind to the United States in any way. That attack in Cyprus was really big because it hit an RAF airbase. This comes as apparently Spain is saying they will not cooperate with the United States on the attack on Iran. That's funny. I thought they were in NATO. I thought they were supposed to do that. Isn't that the whole point of being in NATO? Oh, that's right. NATO is absolutely pointless. The UK, at first, said they would not cooperate because Keir Starmer is a big bitch. A big bitch. And we certainly would not want to upset the Muslims, considering Keir Starmer and his Labour Party have decided to allow their country to be invaded by these people, taking over entire districts in London. So he can't upset his major constituency. Luckily, he has decided to backtrack on that sort of on that ridiculous stance. So Spain's not helping us. The UK initially said they weren't gonna do anything. So now we're relying on Middle Eastern countries to take out another Middle Eastern theocracy. It's almost like there's no point to having NATO. Because as you guys can see, wherever it is you may be watching from, Iran currently stands alone. However, it's time for Americans to realize that on the world stage, we stand alone. I know that neocons of the past talk about the importance of NATO. And NATO is utterly useless. And it has been for quite some time. I don't know if the attack in Iran will be successful or not. But what I do know is that it is not going to come down to North Macedonia on whether or not it is successful. I know that. I can tell you that right off the bat. I can tell you that, whatever confidence I may have in this operation in Iran doesn't come down to the unbelievable army of Slovenia. I don't know. Maybe I'm being one of those arrogant Americans, and I could be. That's entirely possible. I just don't have much confidence in the majority of the NATO nations either coming to our defense or making a damn bit of difference in the first place. Now, look, I could be wrong. Look, perhaps the Albanians are going to have a major impact in this war. They might. They could. I mean, we might not be successful if we don't get the okay of Latvia or Montenegro. Those Montenegrins, I don't even know how you say it. We got to watch out because, President Trump met with the German chancellor today, and he said he was fully behind the Americans on this. We'll see what happens when push comes to shove. But, if we don't have Luxembourg on board, I don't know if we'll really be able to sustain this sort of attack. I don't know. But by all means, let's keep pumping more money into it. Let's keep pumping more money into NATO. And look, I don't know. Look, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe Iceland is worried about the Soviet Union taking West Berlin. Or we could join this century. I don't know. But of course, that's always the problem with government policy and government plans, is that they never actually seem to end. Collective defense, the Article 5 clause that we've heard so much about. An attack on one member is considered an attack on all, ensuring mutual protection. Well, I guess not. Now that Spain has already said that they're not going to help the United States, the UK had to be basically forced into it. And now, with the attack on the U.S. consulate in Dubai, that seems like an attack on all of us. So ideally, that should trigger the Article 5 clause, and then all of NATO should be involved. But that's right, because what you have to understand about NATO is that only we have to follow the rules of NATO. Nobody else does. We have to pay the most money. We have to put American lives at risk. We have to do all the things that NATO says, but then when it push comes to shove and an American consulate is bombed in Dubai, then, the Spaniards are nowhere to be found. I guess they're hanging around eating some sort of rice dish, getting ready for the World Cup. World Cup's going to be weird this year, that I can tell you. That's going to be some weird shit. I wonder how it's going to be when the Iranians come over here for the World Cup. It's going to be weird. Actually, you know what? Let's check. Let's check this. Let's play a little. Who does Iran play in the World Cup? Who does Iran play in the World Cup? Let's see. Anyone of importance? Belgium, Egypt, and New Zealand. All right, so that's. I guess that'll be less weird. Here's more breaking news from Trey Yingst over on Fox about the attack on the consulate.
U.S. consulate in Dubai. We understand that the building and many of these surrounding buildings had been fully or at least partially evacuated And again, these are just initial reports coming in. Fox's Jennifer Griffin also confirming that a hit did take place in this area. As we look at this story and the Gulf countries under threat, just in the past 24 hours, this is the second hit on a U.S. consulate or embassy in the Gulf. Remember, overnight in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, 2 Iranian drones hit the compound, but that compound, again, also was evacuated beforehand. As this is taking place, it raises real questions about air defense systems around these areas. And I reviewed a couple videos online that are circulating, and it indicates this is an Iranian drone, a very similar sound to the same Shahed drones that the Iranians sold to the Russians in Ukraine. You could often see them in Ukraine when they would fly quite low, and it sounds almost like a loud lawnmower buzzing through the sky.
So that's the most recent update. Well, that's one of the most recent updates we have. Here's MSNBC speaking with someone on the ground about it. It seems as though the consulate wasn't hit by the drone. It was hit by the falling debris from the air defense systems you heard Trey Yingst talking about.
That the U.S. consulate in Dubai, in Al Seif, the diplomatic enclave in Dubai, was targeted by an Iranian drone. That drone was intercepted by UAE military systems, which intercepted that drone. But as a result, some debris and shrapnel fell down to the ground in the vicinity of the U.S. consulate, causing a pretty large explosion there. A lot of fire, a lot of smoke has been billowing out of the consulate for the last hour and a half or so, and we've now had it confirmed that that U.S. consulate in Dubai has been targeted by an Iranian drone. Now, it was my understanding that that consulate had been cleared of all diplomatic staff. They had evacuated the consulate over the last day or day and a half or so, following advice from the US. But clearly, this is now a signal from Iran targeting not only the military assets in the region, but also embassies and consulates. We saw earlier today the U.S. embassy in Riyadh was targeted. Again, debris falling down in the area and causing damage and destruction to the U.S. embassy in Riyadh. We know the embassy in Kuwait has been targeted as well. And now this evening, the U.S. consulate in Dubai has been targeted by a drone from Iran. Debris has fallen from that drone after the UAE missile systems intercepted it, and that debris has caused a minor explosion, some fire, smoke in that vicinity. The Dubai Media Office tonight confirming that. They've said that Dubai has succeeded in extinguishing a limited fire in the vicinity of the US consulate in Dubai, resulting from a drone targeting operation. They said that this incident did not result in any injuries, which would make sense given that consulate had been evacuated of diplomatic staff. However, this is a significant moment because we've seen a number of attacks coming into Dubai and Abu Dhabi over the last few days, ever since this war began, when the US and Israel joint struck Iran. And ever since then, Iran has been targeting the Gulf states. As we know, here in Dubai, we've seen a number of attacks, and this now is the latest, a targeted attack to the U.S. consulate, which has seen some disruption and...
I apologize for you having to sit through that man's ridiculous voice. But we're pulling the clips as we get them. Here was CNN a couple of minutes ago with footage of the consulate on fire.
In Dubai, apparently hit by a suspected Iranian drone. You can see a plume of smoke in the background and people in the foreground taking video and expressing alarm over it. David, to something you said about how these Gulf nations will have to endure, there is the question of how much endurance they have, their capacity for doing that. Do they have the ear of the president in the sense that if they go to the United States and they say, we can't do this anymore, would he listen? Would it change the U.S.'s approach?
Well, look, of course, CNN looking for a way out of this already. Well, I wonder if CNN would have cared that much, for the 20 years in Afghanistan, if they would have said a damn thing, or, if they would have done any fact-checking on weapons of mass destruction or anything. But, of course, it is the Orange Man Bad Network. That's the only thing that matters. Now, we're going to talk about CNN a little bit later in the show because I do want to give some more war updates, but there's going to be a big change happening over at CNN very soon, and it's got Jim Acosta very miffed, and I got to tell you, just on like a one-on-one level, it's really funny. It's really funny. So we're gonna talk about that later. That's gonna be some funny stuff. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard over the next couple of days and weeks as this goes on to talk about anything other than this war. Right now, we've got the Dubai media office saying authorities have confirmed that the fire resulting from the drone-related incident near the U.S. consulate has been successfully contained. No injuries have been reported. Well, that's good. That's good. So it's just a little fire. Such is life. So that's the update with that for now. I do want to talk a little bit more about the war because there is a line that the administration has been trying for a while now, and Scott Jennings went with this on CNN the other day, and I don't know if this line is going to work because look, I don't know if you guys have been on the internet recently. But this strike in Iran has absolutely divided the MAGA base in a very serious way, and I understand it. I absolutely understand it. I said it on yesterday's show, and I'll keep saying it over and over again. I'm just about as anti-war as you can get from both the practical perspective and from an America First perspective. However, with that being said, I do live in the real world. And I understand that if we have the ability to take out bad people around the world, that's something we need to do. But we also need to be honest and be real about what this cost is going to be. Not so much in dollars and cents, while that's important. What is it going to cost on? The cost going to be on the American people? How many? We're up to like 6, I think. U.S. service members lost so far during this crusade. How much will the American people be able to stomach before public opinion turns? President Trump says he thinks this could be over in 4 to 5 weeks. I think that's ambitious. I think that's very ambitious. Obviously, as we spoke about yesterday, under the War Powers Act, the president has 60 days for any sort of military incursion before an act of war has to be declared. But there's going to be a vote on the War Powers Act on Thursday to see how many members of Congress will go along with this sort of military exercise. I'm going to go with that's probably going to get voted down. Oh, what is this? Marco Rubio speaking? Give me 1 sec. Let's see. Hopefully we can get the audio this time. And there won't be an audio issue like there was yesterday. Yeah, Marco Rubio on his way to, I believe he's one of the people briefing the Gang of Eight. Here's Marco Rubio. We'll play that for a minute, then we'll come back.
Deliver Americans who are in the Middle East and in need of assistance. It is very important, and I ask this of the networks as well. It is important for you to please put both the website and the phone numbers on your screens, because we need people. We need to know where you are. We need to know. We need to have contact information for Americans that need assistance. They have to register with us, because as these options begin to open up, and as they open up, we have to be able to call you. We have to be able to reach you. We have to be able to know where you're staying, so we can get this information to you and coordinate appropriately. And it'll be a variety of methods: charter flights, military flights and transports, expanded commercial commercial opportunities, and in some cases land routes that will allow them to go to neighboring countries who might have open airports at that point. So it's a lot of different things here that need to happen in order to move people, but it all starts by knowing that you're there. It all starts by knowing that where you are and how we can get a hold of you. So I'm asking the networks and all of the media outlets, please publicize the 2 phone numbers that we've put out, as well as the website, so people can contact us and register. We've had, thousands of people call already. As I said, we've identified almost 1,600 that are requesting assistance with departure, but we need you to please be able to identify that. As I came in, I also saw the media reports about Dubai's consulate. The last update I had with seconds before getting before these cameras was that a drone unfortunately struck a parking lot adjacent to the Chancellery building and set off a fire in that place. All personnel are accounted for. As you're aware, we began drawing down personnel from our diplomatic facilities in advance of this. In the cases, for example, of Beirut, we basically drew down to bare bones, as well as in Baghdad and in Erbil and in a couple other posts as well. So we've been very fortunate, obviously, but our embassies and our diplomatic facilities are under direct attack from a terroristic regime. With an update, I will obviously refer you to the Department of War. Suffice it to say that our objectives remain as they've been identified from the beginning and by the President laid out clearly yesterday. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, and we will now not allow Iran to hide behind the immunity of a massive short-term ballistic missile inventory or the ability to make them or launch them. And so CENTCOM, in a joint operations, is carrying out a systematic destruction of their missile belt, destruction of their launchers, and destruction of their ability to make these, as well as the destruction of their Navy. From what I've been told by the Department of War, everything is on or ahead of schedule and proceeding on these objectives. We have every confidence in the world that these objectives will be achieved. The last point I would make is, and I said this yesterday and I repeat, what's about to, you're about to see, we're going to unleash Chang on these people in the next few hours and days. You're going to really begin to perceive a change in the scope and in the intensity of these attacks as, frankly, the 2 most powerful air forces in the world take apart this terroristic regime and defang it and take away its ability to threaten its neighbors or hide behind a zone of immunity that allows them to develop their nuclear ambitions. This terroristic, radical, cleric-led regime cannot be ever allowed to have nuclear weapons. We saw what they were willing to do to their own people. They were willing to slaughter their own people in the streets. Imagine what they would do to us. Imagine what they would do to others. Under President Trump, that will never, ever happen. All right?
Yesterday you talked about Israel. Mr. Secretary.
Please, guys, I can't hear them all. Yes.
Yesterday, you told us that Israel was going to strike Iran and that's why we needed to get involved. Today, the president said that Iran was going to get
Yeah, your statement is false. So that's not what I was asked very specifically. Were you there yesterday?
Yes, I asked
Okay.
the question.
No, were you the one that, because somebody asked me a question yesterday, did we go in because of Israel? And I said, you were asking me that follow-up. And I said, no. I told you this had to happen anyway. The president made a decision, and the decision he made was that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ballistic missile program, that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ability to conduct these attacks. That decision had been made. The president systematically made a decision to systematically destroy this terroristic capability that they had, and we carried that out. I was very clear in that answer. This was a question of timing, of why this had to happen as a joint operation, not the question of the intent. Once the president made a decision that negotiations were not going to work, that they were playing us on the negotiations, and that this was a threat that was untenable, the decision was made to strike them. That's what I said yesterday, and you guys need to play it. And if you're going to play these statements, you need to play the whole statement, not clip it to reach a narrative that you want to do, all right?
This is your statement. This is your statement, Mr. Secretary.
Go ahead.
What do you make of the War Powers resolution that's being considered here in Congress?
I mean, the Congress votes on those. They can if they want. There's mechanisms for it. We've complied with the War Powers Act, even though we believe it's unconstitutional, as has every other administration. Every other president has found the War Powers Act to be unconstitutional. Nonetheless, we notified Gang of Eight, which was an appropriate mechanism by which to notify Congress. We sent the notification within 48 hours, the way the law requires. I'm here today to have, I don't know, my 6th or 7th briefing before the entirety of the House and Senate, which is far more than I ever got from any administration in the time that I was here, certainly when I was a member of the Gang of Eight. And so we've over-complied with the law and what it requires. This is an action by the president to address a real threat, This is hostilities designed to eliminate a threat to the safety and the security of the United States and to our allies.
Was there a
plan in place to evacuate Americans before the attack took place?
Well, that's the plan we're trying to carry out. The problem is, or the challenge we are facing, is airspace closures. If a country closes their airport, for example, in some cases the airports have been hit. So the airport in Kuwait was hit. So if an airport's been attacked or the airspace is closed, then we can have the planes lined up to go, but we can't get them to land because we don't have the permissions to land there. So that's the challenge. But rest assured, we are confident that we are going to be able to assist every American. As I told you, right now we have about a little over 1,500, maybe closer to 1,600 Americans requesting assistance, and we know that we're going to be able to help them. It's going to take a little time because we don't control the airspace closures. That said, there may be more people out there that need help. We need to know who you are. So please, I'm asking the media, publicize the phone numbers and the website, because we need people to call in so we have their name, we have their contact information, we have their location and their request. So as these opportunities begin to open up, we can act very quickly to reach them and get them out of harm's way.
Mr. Secretary, I want to just clarify what you said. I want to clarify what you said, because you said...
There's nothing to clarify.
No, but you said I would get that.
No, but you have to read, if you're going to read the whole statement.
But your quote is about, we knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that would precipitate an attack.
Yeah, no, I understand. But listen, all right, but let me understand. Yeah, but I had a very specific question from that gentleman, right?
The president said, the president said that...
Hold on one second. I asked
he may have forced Israelis.
Okay, but let me answer, because this is my press conference. Sure. Okay. You asked me, I was asked a very specific question, so you guys can misrepresent it, but I was asked a very specific question yesterday. The bottom line is this. The president determined we were not going to get hit first. It's that simple, guys. We are not going to put Americans' troops in harm's way. If you tell the president of the United States that if we don't go first, we're going to have more people killed and more people injured, the president's going to go first. That's what he did. That's what the president will always do. He will always put the safety and security of our men and women in uniform and of all Americans before anything else. He's always going to do that, and that's what he did here. In addition to that, I would argue that this threat from Iran, they are hiding behind these missiles and hiding behind these drones. They wanted to reach a point where you couldn't touch them, and then they could do whatever the hell they wanted with their nuclear program. And there is no way in the world that this terroristic regime was going to get nuclear weapons, not under Donald Trump's watch.
So the U.S. attack has nothing to do with Israel. It has nothing to do with Israel.
This operation, there's a general question of why the president gave the green light, and then there's a question of why did it have to happen this weekend? Are you saying it had to happen this weekend because of that Israeli action?
No, this weekend presented a unique opportunity to take joint action against this threat. And we wanted this to have maximum success. We want this operation to be successful at achieving its objectives. I'll repeat the objectives. The president laid them out yesterday. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It cannot have, and therefore it cannot have the things it was hiding behind to have a nuclear weapons program. What are those things? Number one, we are going to destroy their missiles and their missile launchers. We are going to destroy their capability to make these missiles and these launchers, and we are going to destroy their Navy. Those are the objectives, and this weekend, acting at this time, gave us the highest probability of success in achieving those objectives, and as the Department of War will brief you, we are on or ahead of schedule to do that.
So the U.S. attack would have happened no matter what? Would the U.S. attack have happened no matter what Israel is planning to do?
The House said Israel was going to act with or without...
The president on the timing that gave us the highest chance of success, and that's what you're seeing play out right now. You're seeing it play out right now, and you'll see it in the days to come. We will systematically take apart their missile program. We will destroy their ability to sponsor terrorism, by the way. We will destroy their factories. We will destroy their Navy. Those objectives are going to be met. We're well on our way to meeting them. It will not be easy. There will be a price to pay for it, but that is a much lower price to pay than having a nuclear-armed Iran. I got to go brief these guys. Hold on. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Secretary, how heavily is the administration leaning into the 2001 AUMF for justification of these strikes?
What now?
How heavily is the administration...
Well, that's not our notification to Congress. Our notification, listen, let me explain to you guys this in simple English, okay? Iran is run by lunatics, religious fanatic lunatics. They have an ambition to have nuclear weapons. They intend to develop those nuclear weapons behind a program of missiles and drones and terrorism that the world will not be able to touch them for fear of those things. And this is the weakest they've ever been. Now is the time to go after them. The president made the decision to go after them, take away their missiles, take away their Navy, take away their drones, take away their ability to make those things so that they can never have a nuclear weapon. That's why the president made this decision. It was the right decision, and the world will be a safer place when these radical clerics no longer have access to these weapons. You see how they're using them now. Imagine how they would use them a year from now if they had more of these. All right, I got time for one more. Yeah, go ahead.
What exactly was the threat?
Several Democrats criticized what you said and argued
yeah, of
that
course they criticize. The question is, several Democrats criticize. They're going to always criticize. We've been doing this for years, guys. They come out. I'll tell you right now, they're going to come out after the briefing and say, we didn't hear anything. We have more questions than answers. You mark my words. But we still do these briefings. Go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, their criticism was on the timeline. They said that Israel is dictating the timeline for the United States.
No,
and as you know, several people on the right have also agreed with that. How would you respond to that?
Well, the United States made a decision. Under the President of the United States made a decision. This is intolerable. Iran cannot have these missiles, cannot have these drones, cannot threaten the world. The President said this is the weakest they've ever been. If we don't hit them now, a year from now, a year and a half from now, no one will be able to touch them, and they'll be able to do whatever they want. And he made a decision to go. And he made a decision to go in a joint operation because they gave us the highest chance of success. And he made the decision to go first because he concluded that we were not going to get hit first. We were not going to absorb a blow from them. We were going to go first. He was not going to run the risk that they could attack us before we could hit them, because in addition to costing lives, it would undermine the effectiveness of our operation. All right, guys, I got to go. Thank you.
President Trump tried to decide Prime Minister Netanyahu. Yesterday you said Iran was going to get attacked. Take a pass.
So that was Marco Rubio. Now we got Chuck Schumer walking up to the exact same microphone. I just want to look. I think Secretary Rubio has been doing a great job. That was a bad press conference. That was a bad. When he said that's not what I said yesterday, that's exactly what he said yesterday. I guess they're trying to get their talking points in order. We're going to go to Chuck Schumer right now to see how he responds to what the briefing was just a moment ago in Congress.
The American people do not want an endless war. The administration doesn't seem to know what it's doing. Every hour there's a different rationale as to why we're doing this. And America wants this president to pay attention to the problems at home, not the problems overseas, particularly when no one has any idea of what the real rationale is. It changes every hour.
DHS talks.
Okay, now that tells me something else. What that tells me is that they got the answers to all their questions, because Chuck Schumer went out there and started to yammer on about problems at home, and this is not what America wants. And look, okay, fine. But as Marco Rubio said in that, Democrats are going to come out and they're just going to say, oh, we didn't get any answers, and we left with more questions, and we did all that. And he's right. He's right. That's what Democrats are going to do. But that's not what they did, because they got the answers to every one of their questions, and now you're going to see Democrats begin to circle the wagon around we need to be focused on domestic issues, which, that's a good talking point. That's a good talking point for sure. I would much rather us focus on domestic issues, but I don't live in a utopia. I wish I did. Pretty wild that following the briefing, Schumer didn't have much to say. I guess they just wrapped up the Senate briefing. Now they're going to go on over to the House side, and brief them there. It would seem, guys. We'll be back in 1 second. Back in one more second with some more updates. Before that, here's Jeremy.
Hey everybody! If you're not familiar with, then let me introduce to you Armor Colostrum. Now, I didn't know what colostrum was up until a few years ago. I'd never even really heard of it. And then my wife turned me on to Armor Colostrum. And what colostrum does is it helps regrow your hair. Not going to lie, that's the reason that I started looking into it. But then I started noticing some other things that I could benefit from. I used to get acid reflux very badly. I used to bloat very badly. It felt like I was 10 or 15 pounds heavier than I was until I made Armor Colostrum a part of my everyday schedule. And now things have changed so very much. Let me introduce to you what Armor Colostrum actually does and what it looks like. In a study measuring immune cell response to toxin, Armor Colostrum performed 32% stronger and faster than other colostrum companies. 400 plus bionutrients activated in your life, in your body, to help regrow hair, strengthen your gut health, regrow your nails, toenails, and fingernails healthy, get rid of fungus, stop bloating, and more. And now you can get yours right now for up to $18 off each and every purchase at tryarmra.com. Promo code LFATV. Click the apply button once you've entered the code and watch your discount fall off. That is tryarmra.com/LFATV. Order now.
Guys, head on over to tryarmra.com and use code LFATV. That's tryarmra.com and use code LFATV. I do think that's pretty... I would love to go back to that Chuck Schumer press conference there because... Or that Chuck Schumer press... I don't know, comment, whatever the hell you want to call that. It seems to me that following a briefing about a foreign entanglement, you had Chuck Schumer coming out and yelling some message of America First, which is pretty odd. I gotta say, I didn't think I would have I didn't think that would have been on my bingo card this week, that Chuck Schumer would have come out and said, to hell with the world. This is why we should focus on American policy. Now, I wish they had maintained that sort of mantra over the last 4 years where, you know, the Joe Biden administration paid sex traffickers to bring children across the border, about 150,000 of them we still can't find. But, Democrats love to change their position the way the wind blows. Now, we'll see how that plays out for the rest of the cycle. But once again, we'll bring you guys more updates as they come in as Operation Epic Fury. By the way, whoever the hell it is at the White House that's naming these operations, Epic Fury. Whoever's naming them, keep going. You're doing a great job. There is some news that I do want to talk about. That's really funny, I think. That's going to be really, really, really funny. So, there was a media merger over the weekend that went completely under the radar. And I think it's incredibly important. Just wanted to get the couple little facts here. So I want to read this to you guys that I think is severely going to change the way news is done in this country for quite some time. Paramount, to combine with HBO Max and Paramount Plus into one streaming service after the Warner Brothers merger. Now, Kev, how the hell are you going from a potential World War III situation into some bullshit like business merger that nobody cares about? I'm going to tell you why. We're going to read this real quick, and we're all going to laugh to ourselves. Paramount and HBO Max will combine in one streaming service if regulators approve Paramount Skydance's acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery. Paramount CEO David Ellison said in a press conference call on Monday the combined service would have about 200 million subscribers given the existing totals. Ellison said that during the company's investor call about the Warner Brothers Discovery transaction, Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery said last week they had struck an agreement to sell Warner Brothers at $31 a share after Netflix backed out. Kev, who cares about some corporate business merger crap? I'm going to tell you why. CNN is owned by Warner Brothers. It was spun off of the other networks some years ago. CNN is owned by Warner Brothers. CBS is owned by Paramount. CBS has taken quite a lot of flack over the course of the last several months after they appointed someone named Barry Weiss to be their news director. Barry Weiss, a sort of post-liberal lesbian who really came out into the world during the whole intellectual dark web stage that happened about 9 or 10 years ago in America, the sort of anti-woke, post-liberal sort of era, when you started to see many people on the more traditionally Democratic left starting to come over to the American right due to the predations and the ridiculousness of your average woke Democrat. Well, why does that matter? Well, now somebody who actually wants to report news fairly is now going to be in charge of CNN. That's right. The Ellison family, one of the richest families in America, after appointing Barry Weiss the head of CBS, we played it for you on this show. The CBS Evening News guy coming out and apologizing to you for lying to you all those years. But now he's going to do better. And many people have criticized Barry Weiss for her coverage on things like 60 Minutes. And there's been editors and reporters resigning left and right. And you're supposed to pretend like this is some kind of a big deal. You may now, are you ready for this? You may now get like an attempt at down the middle coverage of news on CNN. Now, why do I find this funny? I find this funny because there is a news channel out there, News Nation. It's pretty much populated by everyone who has been fired from every other one of the other cable news networks. I think they do a very good job. They just hired Katie Pavlich from Fox News. They also have Chris Cuomo, which, you take the good with the bad. But they're actually attempting to give some sort of, I won't say down the middle because there is no such thing as objective news coverage. That idea was like concocted in the 60s and 70s by Walter Cronkite when he was lying to you. But having a left-wing host and a right-wing host and a left-wing host and a right-wing host go back to back is at least a way to not only get different perspectives on topics such as the war from the hosts, but from the guests in which they book. I am fully aware that if I'm ever on News Nation, it will probably not be on the Chris Cuomo show. I'm probably going to be on the Katie Pavlich show, which I'm okay. I would give anything to be on Chris Cuomo's show. I would never be invited back. But now that CNN, the head news director at Paramount, which just bought CNN, is someone that's actually attempting to try and show both sides. Look, Barry Weiss does not hide her liberal bona fides, but at least she attempts to give a different alternative. Now, some people are very upset by this. Very upset by this. And one of them who is very upset, is, of course, Jim Acosta. Now, Jim Acosta has disappeared into oblivion, into the podcast realm. Hi, Jim. How's it going? Congratulations on finally having to work on your merits and not on the CNN bug in the corner. But Jim Acosta has a warning for you guys about what might happen now that Barry Weiss is going to be in charge, or semi-in charge, of CNN. Watch out, because this could be dangerous. This could be dangerous for news gathering. It could be dangerous for the concept of journalism. It could be dangerous for America. Are you ready for what Jim Acosta's big worry is?
Do we want Scott Jennings anchoring the...
By the way, why do they all look like this? Him, Mark Cuban, Rosie O'Donnell, Rachel Maddow. It's like as soon as you get kicked off of mainstream media, you immediately turn into a homely lesbian.
Scott Jennings anchoring the CBS Evening News, or anchoring AC 360 and talking about what a great president Donald Trump is and how he's the best president since George Washington and Abraham Lincoln? Well, I mean, what kind of crazy, Stranger Things, upside down world are we going to become if that's the kind of news and information that we have pumping out over the airwaves in this country? It sounds to me that that's exactly what Donald Trump wants. All you have to do is go inside his twisted mind. I mean, just the other day, he was tweeting about sending a hospital boat to Greenland. He can't even stay awake at his own events. And this is the guy who's gonna cow these giant media properties into combining into one another and becoming propaganda arms of his administration.
Yeah, that's what we're worried about, Jim Acosta. We're worried about the guy who stays awake for 22 hours a day, closing his eyes. Which is not what he did. And that's why Jim Acosta, with terrible lighting, he's like front lit, like he's been kidnapped by ISIS. Come on, Jim, get some lights, bro. They're not that. I mean, you guys can't see, but they're not that expensive. They're like $300. Are your ratings that bad? Are your minutes per view not really up there because I don't know, you're not interviewing Rosie O'Donnell anymore? That you can't afford lights? Oh, what a catastrophe. Oh my God. What are we going to do? Scott Jennings might get his own show. Scott Jennings. The only reason people watch CNN. I take that back. Brianna Lyman is awesome. Lydia Moynihan is awesome. They're friends of mine, so I make sure I say that out loud. But the only reason, Kiss, you're absolutely right. He looks like he's filming a hostage video. Like he's been taken captive by the worst cat ladies in America. Just get some lights, bro. I mean, I'm not in a studio here. I'm in my spare room. I guess that's what... Oh, someone here will like this. I guess that's what happens when you don't have a makeup person, when you don't have an editor, when you don't have a producer, when you don't have a lighting guy, when you don't have a camera guy, when you don't have a script guy all showing up to things. I guess you don't know how to backlight yourself. Any hooker on TikTok can figure out how to do that, but Jim Acosta can't seem to figure it out. Someone in particular like that, I can tell you that. But there is more news to get to, because look, we're probably, I hate to break this to you, but if you don't give a shit about the Iran war, a lot of these shows are going to be incredibly boring to you for the next 2 or 3 weeks or so. I would say. But there is more news that I want to make sure I get to. A Somalian has pleaded guilty to autism fraud, which is ironic considering many of them have... Never mind, I'm not going to say that. That would have been one of the things that got me in trouble. Nick Shirley hits Canal Street and runs into maybe the most obnoxious human being I've ever heard in my entire life. Joe Biden paid a bunch of sex traffickers, and a really sad story out of Miami, if we have time. Before we get to that, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed, because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com and use promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. Shout out to the live chat. What's going on, everybody, over there? Somebody new in the X chat, Vancy. How are you? Hope you're enjoying the show. I guess David Gregson. Hello, how are you? Some new people in the X chat. Very happy today. That probably has something to do with the fact that last night, I don't know what happened, but I triggered a whole gaggle of really really upset feminists. I must have hit the feminist button last night on X. I don't know what I did. All I said was, dear feminists, which I know is mansplaining or whatever. Donald Trump is attempting to free some of the most oppressed women on planet Earth, but you're all pissed off about it. And quite literally, like a million views later, this must have gotten caught up in the feminist web, I guess you could call it. They got really upset. You know what? I'll throw it in the live chat. You guys, you know what? I'll throw the tweet in the live chat. You guys can jump on there after the show and abuse some of these people. Because why not? It's funny as hell. Why not? It's funny as hell. I don't know who. Somebody obnoxious must have tweeted it out because they were quite flummoxed. So let's start. You know what? Let's start with Nick Shirley. We'll start with Nick Shirley. So, for those of you who aren't from New York, we have a place in New York City called Canal Street. Now, even before the illegal immigrant crisis that we've had over the last several years, Canal Street has always been a place where you can go to get very cheap / definitely stolen goods. You know, you can get like 4-stripe Adidas and you can get Coach bags that aren't real. And if you come across ones that are real, they're definitely stolen. It's one of these things that we in New York, we've just chosen to pretend like we don't know. You know, oh, look, you're selling a Louis Vuitton bag out of a little red wagon. How convenient for everyone. We've always had this here, but since the immigration crisis, Canal Street has been taken over by African gangs, and not like gangs of not like a gang of African Americans. I mean like a gang of like sub-Saharan Africans. That apparently you're not allowed to film them while they sell their definitely stolen merchandise. Now look, Canal Street, as I said, has always been a place where you can pick up things that are cheap and definitely stolen. But how many stores around America can you pick up Gucci shoes and Head and Shoulders shampoo at one stand right after the next? It's really a great bargain if you're in the mood for buying stolen goods. But Nick Shirley went down there the other day and found maybe the most obnoxious human being on planet Earth. This is the white liberal. This is the white liberal that Malcolm X warned you about.
Tell everybody what Trader Joe's you work at. I work at the Trader Joe's on the Upper West Side, 96th Street, nigga. Fuck yeah, dude.
Wow.
Trader Joe's for life.
Yeah. You hear that? Dropping the N-bomb.
I'm coming for your ass, dude. I'm from Trader Joe's, and we're not fucking around anymore.
Oh, you're back. What's going on?
Everything are set up, bro.
What are you talking
about?
Hero, bro. Hey, yeah,
Hero.
This guy's claiming that he's responsible for deaths in Minnesota.
So he got 2 people killed, and he's your hero?
Let me guess. Is he racist?
They got themselves killed. They should be home with their family doing my own business.
Instead of protesting. You're not American, bro. This guy is not American.
What do you mean I'm not American?
Azerbaijani or some bullshit? Yeah, of course.
Jesus Christ. You're the most racist person I've met down here. You called him Azerbaijani and not American?
I'm not even shaking your hand.
You're shaking. You just called this guy not American and Azerbaijani. That's verbatim what you just said in the live stream.
You're the homophobic.
So you're xenophobic out here, saying he's not a nationality.
I'm homophobic and xenophobic, and I'm coming for Nick Shirley's ass.
At least you take your mask off. All right. At least we know who our opponent is.
I'm coming for your ass, dude. I'm from Trader Joe's, and we're not fucking around anymore.
I'm sure Trader Joe's is gonna run away from this statement. Imagine having an employee that just admitted that they're xenophobic and homophobic on live stream for millions of people.
That's right, dude.
Trader Joe's. You're gonna continue employing someone that's homophobic and xenophobic who just made fun of someone who's not an American from Azerbaijan by his estimation of looking at their skin color.
Fuck Azerbaijan.
Look, we've got interesting people here. We do. Nick, I hope you were able to pick up some, 4-stripe Adidas while you were down there. I do like how he's taking selfies with people. And the first guy, not the guy with the bicycle helmet. By the way, grown men with bicycle helmets, unless you're in the Tour de France, I mean, what are you doing? Loosen up that strap a little bit. It's not good on the chin, pal. But so Nick Shirley's down there on Canal. I should go meet him. If I could ever get a day off, I would. I should go meet Nick Shirley down there. Things get wild. Look, Canal Street's a wild place. And any New Yorker will tell you it always has been. So, why the hell not? Speaking of Nick Shirley and Minnesota, cha-ching, more Somalians are pleading guilty for fraud.
Also today, a guilty plea in federal court connected to a multi-million-dollar autism fraud scheme in Minnesota. The defendant accused of paying kickbacks to recruit children, fake diagnoses, and bilking the Medicaid system. It is a case Lou Raguse first broke in September. He joins us with details from the newsroom. Lou?
Julie, this was a $6 million scheme run by a man who was just 22 years old when he opened this supposed autism clinic, Star Autism Center in St. Cloud. Abdi Najib Yusuf admitted that his he called them investors, brought in unqualified staff, family members as young as 18 to do medical services. And then they recruited children from Somali families to receive services in return for kickbacks, which were also paid with taxpayer money. Many of the kids didn't even have autism, but Yusuf admits they fraudulently got those diagnoses. After 4 years, Star Autism Center had racked up $6 million in reimbursements. Yusuf sent $200,000 to Kenya and spent $100,000 on a Freightliner semi. He did not say how much of the $6 million he kept for himself. Now, Yusuf is only the second suspect charged in what is believed to be a wide-ranging fraud scheme among autism centers. Both of these suspects have now pleaded guilty. In court today, though, prosecutors said that they plan to indict Yusuf's so-called investors who are involved with him on this scheme. He'll face about 5 years in prison when he eventually is sentenced, Julie.
Well, Lou, one of the most frustrating things, and there's so many, about these cases is it's $6 million and all we know he has to show for it is maybe a $100,000 semi. I mean, do we know if there's any ability to claw some of this back?
That's right. It's too early to say in this particular case, Julie, because they haven't divided up how much money each particular person is responsible for and where that money is. Is it in bank accounts? Is it in real estate? Is it anything they can actually get? We don't know that yet.
And these other people that will be indicted in this case, the so-called investors, is this a case where he maybe was a lower rung on the ladder and these are higher rungs on the ladder?
Well, they maybe knew more of what they were doing, but he was the only owner and CEO of this company that registered with the Secretary of State's office and the very same day was approved to be a provider by the Minnesota Department of Human Services.
Right.
Yeah, remember when Tim
Lou.
Walz said this wasn't happening? Turns out it is. Spoiler alert. Shouldn't come as a shock to anybody. Guys, it's 4 o'clock. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. Head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to help this show out. Thank you guys all so much. I'll see you back live tomorrow. Until then, stay loud.